totally know what they're saying. You know what I'm saying, Tora? I totally know what they're saying. Okay, so this morning, I had this OBE VR lucid dream, and well, it got a little fuzzy on me, but I remember at least 80% of it. But I know there was like a dog in it or something, or a couple dogs, and I forgot about that part. But I went back to this mansion, the same mansion I've been to a million times, where it has that creepy basement. And at first, I was just kind of standing there in a room. I don't know what it was, a big room or whatever, with like this coworker that just retired that I just saw at the grocery store. And so in the scenario, he was standing there, and there was a couple other, that other new guy that goes to the mailroom that I see sometimes that they hired. He was in the scenario too, like from where I work. So I was sitting there, I was standing there talking to them, like how to, I was asking them, should I get like I was trying to ask them about the TSP plan, and I was asking them, well, should I get like a money, I was talking about that, but then I started asking, like, what should I do with some other money? Like, get what the fuck is it called? A mutual fund account and stuff. And so I started talking to them about that. And so they were giving me advice and everything. And the tall guy, the one that I just saw at the grocery store in real life, the tall guy, he was like, yeah, I'll give you a lot of advice and everything. And then first of all, in this scenario, actually, like before that part, there was another scene where I was with some other people, and I started telling them how to get to the basement, because I told them I didn't really feel like going to the basement. And in my brain, I already like mapped it out in my brain, like, okay, you go down this big old hallway, and then that big old hallway, and then that big old hallway, and then that big old hallway. I knew exactly how to get there because I've been there a million times. That big old hallway. But in my mind, I saw it all, play out, like all the hallways and stuff. But I told them I didn't want to go because I just didn't feel like going. I didn't feel like walking all that way through the mansion or whatever. And then I saw, how it dipped down a little bit, and there was the creepy basement and the doors, but I just didn't want to like go there. But I was telling this other group of people how to get there. That was one part of the scenario. It's like this exact same mansion that I've been to a million times, and I walk down this hall and that hallway, and it'll take like forever to get there. But I knew exactly how to get there, so I was telling them how to get there. And, in my brain, like, in the scenario, I saw it all, like this hallway, that hallway, but I didn't want to go, I just didn't feel like going, like, down to the basement. So that was one part of the scenario. And then the second part was about the fuck is it called again? The money market account, whatever it's called. The mutual fund account and the TSP and all that. I was asking them advice. Okay, so then the tall guy... and two, it also seemed like it kind of started off where like we were like eating this big, I don't know if it was lunch or breakfast, but we were like eating lunch or breakfast. But anyway, so then he's the tall guy, which, is the guy in real life he just retired a couple years ago in real life, but he was at the grocery store. And then, so he ended up in my scenario. So then I told, so then he's like, yeah, he was giving me advice and being real nice. And then all of a sudden he just, okay, here's the really funny and really weird part. Okay, oh God, how can I forget about that part? Okay, several areas in the mansion, there were games, okay? There were games, there were, like puzzles that you had to figure out, and games and stuff. I'm not talking about little bitty games, like board games. Like in I know Joel put that in here because of the Squid Game that I watched. Yeah, there were many puzzles to figure out in the mansion, and many games, and many obstacles as well. And then one of the obstacles, like when I was standing there talking to the two coworkers in the scenario, well, they're not my coworkers, but in a different department, coworkers in real life, but they were in the scenario. And so, like, we were standing there next to one of the obstacles, and it was a big pool of water. But it wasn't like a swimming pool. It was like actually like one big, like if you just went into a mansion and you went into one of the big living rooms and there wasn't any furniture and it was just water. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a pool. It was just a big room with freaking water, and I assumed it was over my head. And so here's the weird part. So as I was standing there talking to the tall guy and the shorter guy, my coworkers about the TSB and the mutual funds and stuff, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna tell you about it, and he was real nice and telling me, giving me some advice, and then all of a sudden, like, it's like he was being rude, and he just like, bam, went over one of the obstacles, which was that big room of water. But the funny thing was, I can't remember if he actually was able, if he fell into the water, if he was able to swim across there to the stairs that gets you up into the dry room, or if he was able to walk across the water. But on the water, the whole room of water had this weird, like, it wasn't a complete sheet. It was different, like layers. It looked like either plexiglass or some kind of saran wrap or plastic or something. I don't know what the hell it was, but it was the weirdest thing. And then like boom, he just like went across real fast. And because he was trying to ignore me or whatever, and be rude. Because aliens are always making people do that, like ignoring me, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're always making people abandon me. And so that kind of pissed me off, because he was being nice all of a sudden. And then he just scattered and disappeared across that room of water. Okay, so then like, and I was like, wow, I don't know if I want to try to walk across that because, I might fall in. Well, I did walk across it, and then I did fall in, and then I just swam to where the dry steps were that got me up into the other room. But that was the weirdest thing, man. I mean, it was just weird. And because I just thought, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why I would have cared if it was over my head because I know how to swim. So, but I did fall in. I mean, I was able to walk a little bit across and not fall in, and then I fell in, and then I just swam to the other side. But that was the weirdest thing ever. And but like I say, the other cool part, which I had already almost forgotten about, was the part where I already played out in my head, and I already saw everything. You go down this big old hall and that big old hall, and I saw it all, exactly how to get there. But I was just telling the other people how to get there, but I already had mapped it out in my head and told them, and I saw everything, like how to get there and everything, like in my brain and everything, but I didn't actually, start walking down the hallway and stuff. I was just telling them how to get there to the creepy basement. But that was kind of cool. Okay, and then this other experience I had, these other ones, keep me trying to spot. Oh, okay, wait. Okay, I didn't even put the freaking date, but I know it's been a while now. Okay, I woke up at 3:30 a.m. and I can't remember the date of this one. And I couldn't get back to sleep, and I didn't fall back to sleep till 6 a.m. or later. Okay, it's coming back to me now. I asked Joel to help me sleep and give me a good scenario. This was probably a freaking month ago. I set my alarm at 7, and I just finished my OBE VR lucid dream a few minutes before 7, and then I vaguely heard the alarm going off at 7. But basically, it was a fun scenario where I was walking around my work office. Okay, hold on, 3:30 a.m. Like I say, this experience lasted, about 45 minutes. Okay, but basically, it was a fun scenario where I was walking around my work office, building number 1, for hours. This was funny. In this scenario, there were separate buildings. But basically, it was a fun scenario where I was walking around my work office, building number 1, for hours. Truman was with me, my cat. I walked around forever and forever trying to find the parking lot. It was exhausting. Then I ended up in work building number 2, which was recently renovated. Joe copied from where, in real life, I worked in Kansas City, and a few yards away was the exam building that had been renovated. Basically, it was knocked down except for the two side walls and redone to make an office building. But actually, he was copying off of that. In this scenario, I felt like he was copying more off of that than my work office here, where they renovated it. Like in the scenario, it felt more like they were copying off of just what I said in here back in when I worked in Kansas City. But anyway, worked in Kansas City. A few yards away was exam building, and that had been renovated. But basically, it was in real life. They knocked everything down except the two walls, and then they made another office building. And I think that used to be a movie theater a long time ago, they said. But anyway, that part was funny. I did get separated from Truman for quite a while in building number 1. And in building number 1, by the way, oh, never mind. I think I said that in here somewhere about the mall thing. And in building number 1, finally, it was time to go to building 2 to look for the parking lot to leave. At one point, I did look out the high windows in building number 1, and I saw a parking lot to my left. And it appeared I was at least 3 levels high up. And the exam building in real life was 2 levels. The exam building in the scenario also seemed to be at least 2 levels, as I remember walking downstairs to meet up with Truman when I was in that building looking for the parking lot, because Truman got away from me. When I saw the first parking lot, I knew that wasn't it. So back to the part that was funny. While trying to get to building number 2, me and at least 5 others, women and men, were heading towards the same direction and building. I had to climb up these bars like a professional American Ninja Warrior contestant. It required a lot of upper body strength. I had to climb up like at least 6 to 7 feet to get to building number 2. The floor, the walkway. The other 2 people did too. When I was climbing, I felt all wore out physically. Like I could feel all the pain physically when I was climbing up those bars. So when I was climbing, I felt all wore out physically. My arms got tired physically as I was climbing, but I did it. This was all virtual reality, and I was kind of embarrassed because the other people were watching me. I was like, wow, I just don't have upper body strength. I have leg strength. Because that's what I told them basically. Then after I got up to the building number 2, after I got up to the floor, I started to show off my leg strength by kicking a soccer ball that just sort of appeared. Actually, it was, an invisible soccer ball. That part was kind of funny. Then I started walking and walked down some stairs, and boom, there was Truman waiting on me. I picked him up and carried him for the duration and asked him, like, where have you been? Because I was kind of worried about him. Picked up a climber duration, asked, where have you been? As I walked around the second building for hours and hours, I couldn't believe how much it resembled an airport. But there was, I think I put that in here. There was also some parts that kind of felt like a mall. I think I put that in here, though. Then I started walking. Oh, wait, hold on. Appear the parts. Then I started walking down some stairs, and boom, there was Truman waiting on me. I picked him up and carried him for the duration and asked him, like, where have you been? As I walked around the second building for hours and hours, I couldn't believe how much it resembled an airport. It was just like an airport. I was asking myself, why did they design this office building like an airport? There was a blonde woman that was walking along with me, and I was just mumbling to her, like, why does this look like an airport? Eventually, I walked to a food area, which also looked like an airport food area or somewhat like of a mall food court. Eventually, the last part of the scenario, I ended up walking down the stairs into my boss's huge garage. This was all very vivid. I ended up walking back down the stairs into my boss's in real life. She was in the scenario. Oh no, she wasn't in the scenario, but her garage was in the scenario. Anyway, I ended up walking back down the stairs into my boss's huge garage that she was renting or assigned to her, that was next to her office where she was working. So basically, my boss's big old garage was hooked on to this building number 2 that was, looked like an airport or whatever. And then I guess, her office building was hooked onto the garage or whatever, but that part was kind of funny. I ended up walking back down the stairs into my boss's huge garage that she was renting, or it was assigned to her, that was next to her office where she was working. I didn't actually see the office, I only saw the garage. In the scenario, I didn't see her office, but I saw the garage, and I walked through the garage. I walked right through the garage, and this is what I saw. I saw very few stuff, but the stuff I saw was kind of cluttery. Her office is cluttery in real life. There was used up plastic tape holders that was thrown on the concrete floor. There was around 3 or 4 of them. You know, the tape, when you're done using the tape, like Scotch tape, and those plastic holders, you know, that was all around the garage floor, about 3 of them. The garage was basically empty except just a few cluttery stuff, and there was a lot of like blankets and stuff, like dirty looking blankets. I did see some old dirty looking blankets thrown around the floor, and there were a few more stuff that I cannot remember that I saw. But I'm proud of myself for remembering the tape holders and the blankets. That part was vivid. But basically, I mean, the whole thing was vivid. But basically all the stuff, but basically all the stuff I did see was basically trash that she didn't want. Almost like stuff she left behind. It was kind of like she left behind or was moving out, like, so to speak. So she left it. That's what it was like. Like she was moving out of the garage, of the rental garage, and was not part of, moving out of the garage was not, oh, by the way, the moving out part was not part of the scenario. But that's what it seemed like. That's what I thought. When I went into the garage, it seemed like she was about to, you know, she was cleaning up and she was about to, you know, like move out. And she had left some stuff, some dirty stuff there, you know, because some people, when they move out, they take most of their stuff, but they leave some trash around, you know what I'm saying? So then the scenario ended up before I made it out to the parking lot. And like I say, somewhere in there, you know, her office was hooked up to the garage, but I didn't see her office. That was the goal, to walk through the garage into the parking lot to get to my car. But the scenario basically ended in the garage before I went out the door. And then there was this other scenario I had. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't short. It lasted quite a while, but it was just in my back bedroom. And two of my coworkers and her granddaughter was in my bedroom, and we were like sitting on my bed and stuff. And the spider came down from the wall, this big old spider. And I was sitting there like pigging out on corn chips. Like, I'm always eating corn chips now in my scenarios. Like, I was just pigging out. And I could taste them and everything. And, but anyway, so then after I saw the big old spider, I was trying to catch the spider like with my hands and stuff to try to trap it so I could take it outside. But I never could trap it. I never could catch it. Okay, so then I'm off with my sister. Okay, so yesterday, I was at a mall again. The aliens, Joel's always taking me to the mall. But anyway, so I was at a mall forever with my mom and sister. And this was another OBE VR lucid dream. Okay, what was the one that, shit, hold on. The one that or did I already talk about that one? The one that I classified as an OBE VR and not an OBE VR lucid dream. I think I already posted that one. Crap, I can't remember. But anyway, this was an OBE VR lucid dream too. So I was at the mall forever and ever with my mom and sister. Okay, we walked around for a long time, shopping. Eventually we walked out. We were going to walk out the doors. And I looked over to the right, and there was a parking garage. I was like, wow, they renovated it. And I could smell the odor, of like rubber tires and like a parking garage smell. I smelled that and everything in the scenario. And we were not going back to the mall anytime soon. As I looked, you know, we're not going to go back to the mall anytime soon. But as I looked back after walking out of the mall doors, after me and my sister and my mom walked out of the mall doors, I couldn't understand why I left my backpack and a water bottle and my bluish silicone mask respirator right there in the middle of the floor. You know, just, 6 yards away from the doors that we just walked out of. And, I was like, I was thinking in my head as I saw it, I was like, why would I leave my bag there for people to steal? You know, my backpack there for people to steal. And as far as I remember, my mom actually told me to leave it there for whatever reason. And so I ran back in, from the glass doors to grab all 3 items. After we had walked out, I turned around and ran back in through the glass doors which was like, one of the entrances to the mall, when the tall man with longish hair, like longish brown hair, was standing there, and he was basically stealing my light bluish greenish mask. I was so mad and started screaming at him. I was like, give it to me, give it to me. And I fell to my knees, and I was trying to yank it and grab it from his hands and his neck area. And the straps, he had these glasses dangling from a from a chain. And I was like trying to grab my mask, and the mask the straps twirled around his glasses, and I was yanking on his glasses, my respirator. And it broke free, and he ran off with the straps only. This was all very vivid. I was happy to get my respirator back, but of course he still ran off with my straps. And, but anyway, I had that particular respirator on the brain, because I bought a medium one. I really don't need them anymore, but just to have them around the house or whatever, when I deal with bird food or whatever. But yeah, I bought this other one because I bought a couple smalls and they're too damn small. Well, when you buy the mediums, they're too big in most of the types, and then you buy a small and they're too damn small. So then I had to get mediums and a couple other types of respirators. And so I had that particular one on the brain because I have it soaking out there in the garage and everything. So that's the one that Joel put in the scenario. But the other one I had that morning, which is February 22nd, like there again, up there by Price Cutter, the strip mall right there with all the businesses and the bike shop and the restaurants. I've had I was in the same area many times in other lucid dreams that were such a blast for years and years and years. There's always like a workout gym in one of those buildings, in one of those businesses, but it's not really a workout place. It was just purely a swimming pool where you just paid and went in to swim. And but in this particular scenario, I was walking along that strip mall right there to the right of Price Cutter, and I was walking down, and all of the businesses were to my left. And there was 3 freaking businesses, bam, 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 and they all had swimming pools. And I'm thinking, why all of a sudden, so many of these swimming pools are popping up? And I wanted to go in one of them so bad and swim, but I knew that it wasn't free, and I didn't want to pay money to go in and swim. But yeah, these were like gyms, except they were nothing but a swimming pool. And you could go, and like I say, the aliens put me in that same area and those same businesses with swimming pools over and over again. And that last one I talked about a couple months ago, where I actually jumped off this high dive and kept, I swam into the water and everything. And yesterday I also swam into the water in that mansion. But this time I didn't go into I didn't swim or anything. And so I walked back one business, and it was, I walked by one business and there was a bigger swimming pool when I looked in there, and then the second business, there's a bigger swimming pool, and I thought it was odd that there was 3 businesses, with swimming, that had swimming pools instead of just one business, like in all my other scenarios. There would only be like all these other businesses, but just one business where you could go and swim, like a gym, except there's nothing but a swimming pool in there. And so the third business I walked by, and I looked in there, and there's a swimming pool, and all of a sudden all the water started being sucked out of the pool, and it was like so cool. It was all very vivid. Like the water started to be sucked out of the pool, and I'm like, that's weird. And then all of a sudden it started to fill back up again, and I noticed in the scenario, I knew in my head, I thought, I think some of the electrical people were working on some water lines or something, and it sucked all the water out. And then, when they realized that they messed up, when they fixed the problem, the water got sucked back, into the pool, and then it elevated again. And I know Joel put that in the scenario because they're working over there in real life on that gas station. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're working over there on that gas station back behind me, where the businesses are. If I'm standing in front of the businesses, back behind me is the come and go, the gas station, and in real life they're working on that. And I know Joel also put that in there because we were talking about that the other day, about how they're working over there, and then Price Cutter, their electricity went out. I mean, their heater went off or something. And then we were talking about, well, maybe because of the gas station work they're doing over there. So that's why he put that in the scenario, those thoughts that I had of why, except this was pertaining to the water lines instead of electrical. But it's kind of funny. The aliens are funny, man. But yeah, so that was kind of fun. And then, okay, this other one I had, I was walking along forever, just out in this familiar neighborhood, and the scenario was very familiar to me. I was walking along, it was like spring day, and I was walking along the fence. Over to the left was a baseball game going on, and I kind of wanted to attend, but I knew it cost money, and I didn't really want to pay or whatever. But it was a baseball game, and that I kind of watched for a couple seconds as I was walking across the grass over to the side of the baseball field. And this is funny, I kind of started astral traveling, so to speak, floating, so to speak. So I kind of hopped up into this invisible chair, and I started floating, and so I grabbed a hold of the arms or whatever, and I told myself, okay, go faster. And I couldn't seem to go any faster, but eventually I started moving and moving and moving, but I couldn't really, like, I was trying to go faster and faster, but I was still just going at the same rate of speed. And I know Joel is controlling all of that, you know what I'm saying? But that was kind of fun, because it's fun when they make you float and shit like that in the scenarios. Or swimming's fun too, though. Oh yeah, this other experience was kind of bizarre, and that's not the first time I've had one like this. But I was sitting, this was on February 20th. I was sitting in my cubicle at work. I mean, this went on for a long time. Then all of a sudden, a mother of an ex-coworker that I had in Kansas City called me up, and I picked up the phone. This is all under OBE VR Lucid Dream. I picked up the phone, and this lasted a long time. I picked up the phone that I use at work. Hold on. I used to work with called me. Okay, well, anyway, but I picked up my phone, and I remember her voice and everything. Anyway, she started talking to me. She was like, "Hello, is this so and so?" And I'm like, yeah. And she was just wanting to know. She talked to me forever and ever, and she was just wanting to know, like, if I still worked there. And wait, hold on. Mother used to call me. I was shocked and couldn't. Yeah, but anyway, I was sitting there and I couldn't understand how she could remember my number, you know, from many years ago or whatever. But she somehow remembered my number, and she called me up, and because she was wanting to relay to her son that, you know, I was still working there and blah, 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 blah. And the son that she, in the scenario, was basically that redheaded guy that I knew back when I worked in Kansas City. This was the mother of him. And what was his name? He had a common name. But anyway, it went on forever and ever and ever, our conversation. And, oh, you know what? I know why Joel created the scenario, because my friend from Texas emailed me, and she's like, "You still work there?" I'm like, why would she say that? I mean, she like emailed me, and she was like, "Oh, do you still work there?" But I didn't say anything pertaining to if I was still working here or not. I mean, I emailed her from my work email, so she should know. I don't know. She's, like I said, she's probably getting Alzheimer's. I mean, why? I mean, that made no sense. She started the conversation. Are you still working there? And I thought that was kind of odd. I mean, the last I emailed her, I mean, I can't remember exactly what I said or whatever. You know what I mean? But I thought it was kind of odd. I don't know where that came from. I mean, if I email, you know, from my work email, you know, it's obvious that I'm still working there. But people are so fucking stupid. Like, why would you quit a motherfucking... I mean, that's like saying a doctor, are you still doing that job? Like an OBGYN? I mean, I make $280,000 a year. Are you still an OBGYN? I mean, how fucking stupid is that? I mean, if you're making that much fucking money, why would you fucking quit? You know what I'm saying? Why would you quit a motherfucking government job? But now I realize some people are full of shit, though. You know, like that Daryl Sims guy. He said he used to work for the CIA for 3 years. Like, why would you fucking quit? Like, I don't believe that for a second. I mean, you're sitting there making $200,000 a year and you're gonna fucking quit a government job, a fucking CIA job? I don't believe that for a second. But couldn't understand you. But anyway, I retracted. But yeah, so but she started the conversation. Are you still working there? But I don't know what the fuck she was talking about, other than do I still have my government job? I mean, so oh baby, because. But I done told her I already still had it. But people are fucking brain dead. They are brain dead. Texting and stuff all the time and just being on the phone all the time, it makes them brain dead. And it also, I'm guilty of it too. It makes them, because you know how, when you're texting like in shorthand or whatever. Well, it's not really official shorthand. I think you gotta learn that. But official shorthand, they talk in fragments and shit, and make up acronyms and stuff. I mean, the people at work that I work with, I can't even understand what the fuck they're saying. And it's because the cell phones are, fucking up their brains and texting and stuff. Because, they're texting in fragments and shit. And it literally, it reprograms their brain, you know what I'm saying? But like I say, I've been a little guilty of that too. Like not putting a couple words, but I make myself definitely not do that now. You know what I mean? I can talk in write in complete logical sentences and not hack it the fuck up. But there's a couple people at work, they send me these emails and it's like all these, what do you call it? Fragments and what do they call fragments? Abbreviations, acronyms and shit. And like, I don't even know what the fuck they're saying. You know what I mean? Needed to stay with me. And that's why, you try to have them call you on the phone. That's why they won't call you on the phone, because they know they can't talk anymore. They know they're fucking brain dead. You know what I'm saying? When a mother of a coworker I used to. But yeah, it was so vivid. And that's not the first time that I've had conversations on a phone with people under these scenarios. I mean, for an hour at least or longer. For hours and hours. Okay, let me see if I'm forgetting any more about, used to work with, called me up, was shocked, and I couldn't understand how she could remember my number. But yeah, it was crazy, but that was kind of fun. Was a friend of the... Oh yeah, then I had this other small experience. This is kind of weird. On February 20th, like my boss and her daughter was like staying at my house. And eventually, and I didn't have a problem with that, and eventually the boss said, well, a friend of the daughter's needed to stay with me, and I agreed. And then this scenario went on for a lot longer than what I'm explaining. But and then later I was kind of walking around and I'm like, wow, I don't want all these people living with me. But it's just kind of funny because, why would I not have a problem with the boss? And I didn't have a problem with them living with me, and then all of a sudden I'm gonna have a problem with the daughter's friend living with me. And I know Joel got that from, because in real life, the boss has a lot of people living with her, like friends of the daughter and shit like that. And my family was eating. Okay, this other experience, this was February 18th. My family and I were sitting at a table eating breakfast at a Village Inn. And as far as I remember, it was Village Inn, and it was also an older restaurant, and, it was just kind of dirty, and it was an older restaurant. It was my brother, sister, mom, and dad, and me. I was sitting south, and my sister west, and my brother east, and my mom and dad north. And we were all sitting at this table eating food. And we were eating breakfast, or brunch, basically. And we were eating at the table, and I looked down, there was a lot of toast and sausage, a sausage hamburger, and many other things. We all started eating and talking. We were traveling to another city, basically, but we stopped off to eat at Village Inn first, to eat breakfast first, or brunch. Because I felt like it was kind of like later, like 11 a.m. or something like that. It wasn't like 7 in the morning or something. I felt like it was like 11 or noon. Eventually, my mom and everybody got up and left. There we go again. They're abandoning me. The aliens always make people abandon me. Eventually, my mom and everybody got up and left me there all alone. I looked down at the table and noticed the uneaten food and half-eaten food, and I pigged out on it. I started taking bites of the toast and taking bites of this and that. I noticed the totally uneaten breaded hamburger my sister didn't eat. It wasn't a burger, so to speak. It looked more like a chicken fritter, golden light brown in the middle of the bun, and not quite as big as a hamburger. I started taking bites of it. I knew it wouldn't bother my celiac disease, since I knew I was out of body, so to speak, and in a lucid dream state. Eventually, I got up from the table, and I cocked my head to the left and noticed my mom's big leather black purse was under there. Her big leather purse was sitting on the floor, and she had her long wallet sticking out of the top of it. I picked them up and headed, and I couldn't, as I looked at it, I was like, I couldn't understand why she would leave it there, but for whatever reason, she left it there. I picked them up and headed out to sit on the benches in the entryway of the restaurant, where the doors are, where you go out and in. As I was sitting there, I looked for my mom's phone to call her by rummaging through her purse, because I don't know where the hell they went. Aliens are always abandoning me in these scenarios. In the meantime, nobody paid for the food yet. I told the waitress I would pay once I got a hold of my parents, and they never came back to get me. The aliens put that part in the scenario about the big uneaten fritter because my sister is always not eating her food or leaving 80% of it. I don't know why she's always doing that. And like I'll give her a box of chocolates and she'll eat like one bite and throw it back and eat one bite and throw it back. So I don't give her shit like that anymore. And but anyway, I know when I was 5 years old, I did have abandonment issues when I was really little, 5, 3, 2, 3, 4, or whatever. And one time I did get locked in the Chevrolet bathroom when I was 5 years old, and I started screaming because I accidentally locked myself in or whatever, or maybe I just didn't know how to dick with the lock to open it. And so anyway, so that's why the aliens put that in here. Okay, on February 17th, I was sitting at a factory. This was OBE VR Lucid Dream. On February 17th, I was sitting at a factory at tables. I had charts with numbers on them with me. I was the secretary. All the other 2 women and 10 men were making the widgets, so to speak. I don't know what they were making, but I'll call them widgets. Joel didn't program that in my scenario, what they were making, but I was at a factory, and I was sitting in like an office area, right by where the all the machinery was or whatever. They were basically talking about what they were gonna make before getting up and heading out to where you actually make the stuff, the factory items. I was shocked that the factory was clean and there was no foul odors. We were sitting at the tables in a square. The shift we were working was like 12 to 9 p.m. shift. It got to be 9 o'clock and this Middle Eastern looking employee was asking for my charts, and I was like, I gotta leave, it's time to go to Walmart. I looked down at my papers before I handed them over. I did end up staying until like 9:20 p.m., but it made me mad because I wanted to leave right at 9 o'clock when my shift is up. Joe put this in here since he knows I don't like staying late after work. What the factory made specifically wasn't programmed for me to know, so I'll call it widgets. The last part of the scenario was funny. There was a tiny mouse, more like a baby mouse, that ran out from under a wall to get a tiny piece of food. I think the mouse was gray as opposed to white, as far as I remember. Then boom, 50 more mice ran out from the walls. They were all scattering, heading in the opposite direction of where our tables were and where we were sitting. Joe puts me in factories a lot, and the mouse part was kind of funny. And I think I did, as far as I remember, I did have mice on the brain. Because I had watched some stuff with mice in them. But anyway, I did have mice and stuff on the brain. But we were sitting at this factory for quite some time, and it made me mad because he's sitting there asking me questions when it was 9 o'clock when our shift ended. Like, can I see your charts and stuff like that? And I looked down and I remember seeing numbers and stuff like that on my white piece of papers. And but also, yeah, it's weird. Like, my sense of smell went way down by 1,000 times. So like, I could go into Mama Jean's and not hardly even smell that herb smell, Or I could go into Price Cutter and I don't smell that stench anymore I used to smell. I could go into Walmart and not really smell any stench. But I try to stay away from people because I don't want to smell their perfume or strong cologne, because I still have problems with that, even though my sense of smell went down 5,000 times. A dog is like 10,000. A cat is 10,000 times of a normal human. When you have multiple chemical sensitivity, it's 5,000 times. I guarantee it. And I still have a strong sense of smell. It's just not, it's just not 100% of the time. It only comes out when it needs to come out. If, to let me know if there's this smell of a chemical or whatever. I mean, I still have a heightened sense of smell. It's just not 5,000 times or whatever. Thanks for listening.